New year comes with new hopes, aspirations, resolutions, and a whole lot of things. But moving forward, we must build on what already exists, consolidate or learn even from our mistakes. And that's why this morning we cannot but talk about 2021 in retrospect. We have in the studio this morning someone to discuss this issue with us. But before we unveil him, just watch his picture frame. Very intimidating profile there. In the studio, we have with us this morning someone that is a chartered accountant. He is the vice chairman, ICANN Ikeja District, and also he is a public affairs analyst. He is Mr. Olusesan Okunade. Good morning.
Good morning, Yinka Kenny. Happy New Year to viewers. My pleasure to be here this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Cousin, morning.
Thank you so much for joining.
Possibly, if I'm using YK, maybe I'll use KZ.
Oh, wow, you just got it.
You see, I started being in the spirit this morning, and everybody is just flowing.
Flowing with it a
With
bit.
the spirit this morning.
You know, it's newness of things I saw via your intro, new things, even with the J1 music.
That's right.
It shows that newest of things.
That's right.
Let's forget the past and see how we can make
I'm
things
for that.
positive
Beautiful.
and move ahead.
All right, and that's why this morning we want to go into it, because most of the times it's better to learn from our mistakes. So if you look where you erred or where you failed, you can in the future make amends and be a better person. And that's where we want to start it with our country, Nigeria. 2021, everybody kept saying that it's been a wonderful year. Generally, how have we fared?
Sincerely speaking, I'm full of very much excitement this morning on the part that what we faced globally, bringing it locally, we've not done badly. And we must give ourselves the kudos. So many waters under the bridge, but we are surviving it today and we are up and running. Generally, if I might pick it, I would want to say that if I have to rate the government and the people itself, we've done averagely well, irrespective of whatever everyone says. The most important thing is that there is life, and when there is life, there is hope. I was reading yesterday of someone that had so much billions in his account, and someone said, you're complaining that you don't have money. That person has a lot, but he's not there to spend the money. So there will definitely be challenges. Actually, challenges is what strengthens us, and that we faced in 2021. With all seriousness, let me give it to the federal government. We entered the year with so much challenge of pandemic. You all know what the global world faced. On our own part, the government tried their very, little way of seeing how they can add value. And let me start on the positive note. You have several infrastructure being developed by the government. Some are still in process. Some we are already approaching, the closing side of it for people to start benefiting. We will take the area of transport and logistics. Looked at the infrastructure we put in place. Gone are those days when you need to travel from Lagos to Ibadan via road and you'll be scared of certain things. We understand the rail system to all the way from Kaduna to Abuja. I know the other side people will tell you that there will always be challenges, but those infrastructures were never there, and this government has tried to annex it. I've seen situations where some of my friends are suddenly relocated to Ibadan. The cost of living in Ibadan can't be compared to Lagos. As a matter of fact, one of them got a 3-bedroom apartment, and he told me, Sheson, that room is bigger than yours. Time two, and he's paying like 30% of what I'm paying in Lagos. And what does he do? He moved in via the train in the morning. By 8, by 9:30 he's in Lagos to do his business, and by 4 he's out of Lagos again, back to Ibadan. And he will tell you the cost of feeding cannot be compared. So in the area of infrastructure, let's give it to government. It's still ongoing, which I feel is a positive one. When we look at the power sector, also, it's an area where I major most. I want to say we've not done excellently well, but I want to believe it's still work in progress, considering the fact that one key area every citizen want to hear is, let me get accurate billing of what I'm consuming. Not and what that transpired into is, can I have meter? Everywhere I go is, I don't want anything. Even if I don't have supply, can I have meter? Can I have meter? And 2021, we really have a little setback in that sector, considering the foreign exchange that we are that play dominant role in some of these things. Because if we have to say it, most of the time, some of our products, we are import based. We bring them into the country. And that's why we put so much pressure on the foreign exchange. And the last, which I know everybody wants to speak about, is security. The federal government, the president this morning in his speech admitted that he knows that is the major area that is not bringing forth some of the good things they have done. And for real, I think I give it to the president for coming out to tell us that if there is no security, a country cannot prosper. For some of us who have our businesses interstate, it's been pretty difficult. I remember those days before we came into this, I traveled via the whole country by road. I'm not an advocate of air flight. I go by road from Lagos to Akure to Enugu. I'm already in the north, Yola, Maiduguri, but I doubt that has been a tall order in the last few years. That's an area, and considering the fact that the number one citizen is admitting that we need improvement in this area, I think as we go on in the show, maybe we have one or two contributions that we can give to them as a way that can guide them. So I think on the overall basis, we've not done fairly bad, in as much as we expect that so much is expected of the government to make sure that an average citizen enjoy the dividend as entrenched in the Constitution, which is good welfare, and outside that, security, which is paramount, even on the part of the government to the citizen.
Thank you very much. You have really picked on every little teeth and bit of it. So, but let me take it from where you started, from the pandemic, which was what we started last year with. And unfortunately, we have moved into 2021 with the latest variant, the Omicron variant. Now, we know that the government in all spheres of the government, they have been trying, the federal, the states, the local, they have all been doing their bit. Now, do you think that we did enough, even as citizens, because we cannot exclude the citizens out of this. Do you think we did enough in 2021? And also, what do you think that we can do better to conquer, because we have realized that COVID-19 has come to stay. Well, what can we do better in 2022 so that we can, conquer this pandemic?
Thank you very much, YK. The pandemic actually threw everybody off guard globally. But it came with its own good things. And I think that's where I feel the federal government need to really consider. I'm an advocate of domesticating so many things in this country and discourage the aspect of we relying on the Western world on everything we do. If you look at the projection as I read from the developed world, precisely US, they've made a projection that with these new variants, they are going to have an average of like 11,000 people, going down the drain every week. Talking that in January alone, you might have close to like 44,000 going down. But ask yourself, you and I will be moving freely in this part of the world. And even with all the COVID-19 protocol and everything, people still, as of last night, federal government came out and say, no, you don't go out with crossover, reduce but everybody, when they say Happy New Year, we started jumping and, clamoring on one another, that's an everything you see with us. But what is the solution to it? You discover that, what can we provide? We rely so much on vaccine. Has the vaccine been working for us on this part of the world? I want to say that while we're growing up, there are certain things researchers come out with. When they give it out there, when you do it locally here, it provides it. Let me give a typical example of a governor I cherish so much. That's the governor of Oyo State, Makinde, when the COVID started. He said, well, I will take the vaccine. But there is a way we do this thing. If it is the problem with this thing, you remember those days when you have malaria, they will give you hot water. Look for thick clothes. And it was from the governor I heard that when you take hot amala with begiri, COVID will look at you and they will take it away. So, but that's not the lie to. But the fact remains that what can we do locally? There are researchers, people, you see, the tridomedicals. How can we put one or two things together, scientifically backed up, that we can use? Vaccine has come, and for me as a business person, it drains so much on our economy. Whether we like it or not, they will tell you that they are giving it for you freely, but there are other ways that these things are being compensated for. But can we get something locally? With this, it can create room. If you are able to develop something that will take locally, you create employment for people because you'll be producing in mass for people to take. So as soon as you're able to do your test when you travel out of the country, the next thing is you are not testing positive, then you pass the guard. But you discover that even after taking the vaccine locally, you get out there and people will still tell you you are testing positive, and you ask yourself, I've taken enough jab, I've taken enough thing. So for me, what I feel the government needs to do is, let's look inward. Internally, domesticate something that you and I are used to. Most of us are not even used to taking this injection. We know the way several of us were brought up. So let's look internally. Let's challenge some of our researchers. What can they put together to make sure that we overcome this? And I can tell you, if you're able to give a clue or have a solution to this, the Western world will buy it. It's not all the time we expect them to say, no, that thing is not scientifically proven. If it's not scientifically proven, but it's working for us. Have you put your test in? If I'm negative, that means whatever it is, put your science into place and let's see how we make it. So I feel what the government needs to do is, how can we do something internally to make sure that we overcome this and our people can move freely? These days that we found ourselves is a bit difficult on the part of certain citizens to cope with. And I want to tell you, certain people, after taking the vaccine, they still go and, do certain things. Like we heard, this thing does not stay well when you have it. So most of the time they will tell you, even from the developed world, we are being told that you make use of some of these eats to make sure. So let the federal government look for a way to domesticate what we can use, whether it's vaccine, whether it's local. Let the researcher work, and let's believe in our own rather than relying so much on the Western world in countering these things.
Talking about economy, let's look at how we feel generally, even though you've started a bit of, you touched a bit on it. But I want us to look at the budget that was signed into law yesterday. I mean, yesterday was the last day of the year.
Of the year, yeah.
So every one of us were already looking at, will there be budget this year? I mean, yes. It's been 3 consecutive years in a row that we've been able to stay within the January to December year. So it was good that that was done yesterday. But interestingly, some figures that came out of what we saw, and of course the expression of Mr. President while he was signing it, the budget that was signed yesterday was 17.1 trillion naira, and which is an increase of about 733 billion from what he sent to the National Assembly, 16.391 billion naira. That increase, of course, which obviously he wasn't happy with it. He expressed his displeasure about it. Of many insertions that came from the National Assembly, in the tune of about over 500 billion, to all of that. Now, we are running an economy that is based on majorly oil. The benchmark on the barrel of oil is around $50-something that is sent to National Assembly. They returned it with $60-something, they were $65. And that is on the price that we don't determine. That is based on global. So I'm just looking at it. Dissect a bit of that. What that
What
means
you
to
expect.
you, what you expect, what is going to mean for us, in 2022.
Yeah, I tried a little to review the budget, and to me, personal, I sound too not optimistic, considering the fact that we just have one stream of income, which is oil.
That's right.
You and I understand what we faced during the pandemic.
That's true.
It threw off our balance. And that was the period oil was going for negative, if there's anything called negative dollar. It was as if because everything was grounded. And we've asked ourselves, this country is blessed. It's blessed. We have several areas. When this administration came in during their second term, part of their focal point is diversification. How much of it have we? Casey, I don't know if you have the understanding that we, in Ondo states, we are the second largest deposit of bitumen.
That's right.
How fair is our roads?
That's true.
It's nowhere. And the role the road infrastructure plays in an economy. If I need to move anything from the south to the west, to the east, to the north, how do I go? I go via the road. But how much of it have we tapped in such a way that we can make all our roads motorable for us to tap into it? But where do we go? Oil. Are we aware that we have coal? In the Asian country, the coal that we have in Enugu is what they are using to power their electricity. How much of it have we tapped into? Nothing. We have gold in Zamfara, where at a time the president had to caution and say there won't be airflow to Zamfara because several illegal set of people were illegal mining it.
That's right.
How much of this have we tapped into? You and I know the answer. So, and we go ahead every year. If you look at that budget, we are going to borrow again.
Obviously, it's
always
on deficit.
On deficit. And that is year in, year out. Like I always say, as an accountant, there is no crime in borrowing. Truth be told. But what are you borrowing for? How much monitoring are you doing to make sure that the funds that are borrowed are being judiciously used for what it's meant for? Those are the areas we should start addressing. How can we do situation where the gold that is in Zamfara, irrespective of the level of insecurity, we can tap into it and let it generate so much $1 billion for us? But there is a problem which is fundamental. And what's the problem? We have said, can we divulge power from the central and give to the states? I know that's a very deep thing. No, because Casey, if we continue, you see the problem we are faced with is we are doing the same thing year in, year out, and we want different results. It can't work. It can't work. Can we even try a model? The National Assembly, like you read, injecting and putting certain amount into the budget to make sure that the president signs. Is that the role that is expected of them? They have to make laws. They have to legislate. That is the duty of an executive. That is supposed to be. And we have said if we can divert power from the central, as we speak, it's pretty difficult for us to hold our governors accountable. Every governor runs to the president. Practically every week. I'm sure you hear it. This governor is with the president. To say one thing, this governor is with the president. And when some of us, when we pick up on the governor, he will tell you, in terms of security, do I have control over the CP?
That's right.
As we speak, they will move the CP out, they will bring another person, he doesn't have control. And like the benchmark we have used this morning, Lagos State, is a model that we've seen maybe during the period of the past governor. We've had antecedent of having good transition. And if you look at the role of RRS in Lagos, with the Lagos State Security Trust Fund that we have, that's why we've not had so much. In as much as we know, there are still lapses. But these RRS, even under the regular police, have been more effective because their head, I think currently, take instruction from the governor, even though the CP is there. So if we can replicate that, then we can hold our governors accountable. The resources that we have in all the states, Sokoto is complaining. Do you know, practically to me, with my experience that I've traveled, all the states are blessed with one mineral resources or the other.
Exactly.
How many of, even in Lagos State, if you're saying there is no resources, I don't want to go to the area of oil that they said they discovered in Badagry. The waterways that we have, the fish, we have the best species of those fish. Tourism. Yes. You come and you move all the way from, this morning I was coming via the Third Mainland Bridge. I was showing, the water. I say you can move from Lagos, from Island to Ikorodu, to Ibeshe, to all those areas. To Badagry. Tourism. I was at Ascon and the Badagry area, and I'm like, for Christ's sake, we have enough. So, and I remember vividly when I traveled to Israel. What was Israel using in Tel Aviv? Tourism. That alone. So if you empower the state, that's why we have been asking them, let's legislate in such a way to devolve power from the central and give to the state. Then some of us can pick some of these governors up. Because every time you try to engage them, they will tell you there is much on our path. The federal government is in charge of that.
Time is not always a friend when you have so much to discuss.
About.
But in all of this that we have been able to highlight, all this while, we see that the place of security is very central. You talk about traveling from one part of the country to the other as it used to be, but now you've got to think twice to go on the road. Now let me quickly take you on this. Still on what happened in 2021. At some point, everybody began to clamor for government to declare these bandits terrorists. Eventually, even though there was whatever you call it, but eventually, federal government got a court injunction. These guys were declared terrorists, and everybody expected that from that moment it will be a massive onslaught on these people. But I don't know. In your assessment, how do you think that changed much?
Well, after the declaration, I was on a particular forum that particular day when we got the court injunction that the bandit have been declared terrorists. It will shock you that the slow pace at which we respond to things gives more problem than providing solutions. We invested so much in getting to Kano jets, which is meant to crush the terrorists. And now you have, because all we always argue is that what is the position of the law? The position of the law as we speak is bandits are terrorists. So what's the Tucano jet waiting for? We have 6 of them as we speak. So on my path, I feel the federal government, because security is strategic to economic growth.
No doubt about that.
If we are not secured, you cannot sleep with your 2 eyes closed and move from one location to the other safely, then there won't be any growth in the country. So if the federal government is sincere on the part of this, if the court has declared, I don't think anybody is challenging that. It's what we need as we speak is action.
That's right.
Because that is why we have seen, because we didn't nip death on the bud. That's where we are today.
Yeah.
We allow it to grow. It has now become a business venture. Because if there's any problem, there is nothing to serve as deterrent. If there is, we have so much people that are surrendering. And I've asked myself, the particular thing where I have a legal person, for me, you know, I'm an accountant. I don't study too much of law, but I feel an eye for an eye is what we need on this.
Okay, Cheso, please, time is not a friend of ours, but I will not let you go without asking you this question. You know, I've said so much about the cost of chicken this morning, and, you know, my producer and my colleague, they had, you know, made a lot of jest about it this morning. And, you know, as a woman, I cannot but, you know, talk about this. Last year, you know, witnessed an unusual spike in the cost of living, especially food items and basic, you know, needs that, you know, it's just essential for living, you know. And we know that in the past years we had, like you said, we had always lived in deficit, but last year seemed to be as if it just got to the peak. We had gas going for almost 10,000 naira for 12 kg. Some people bought a live chicken for 10,000 naira. The cost of a bag of rice is a no-go area, and a host of others went, you know, even to the peak. What went wrong? And is this how we're going to continue in 2022, or what can be done better? Just give us your thoughts in 1 minute.
YK, nothing other than security, security. You and I understand what we faced with farmers not being able to go to the farm. If you don't produce, what do you consume? You go back to your economics, demand and supply. Your demands keep going up. Your supply is limited. The cost of things will go up. It's logical. You don't need to go to Harvard to learn that. It's logical. As we speak, the supply of some of this agricultural produce, we have a shortfall of it. And if we don't increase the supply, definitely if the demand keeps increasing, there is nothing we're going to do. On the aspect of gas, well, there's nothing. We are the largest fairing gas in the Africa. But as we speak, we still import some of these things. And if you look at the excuse for hyping some of these, it's boiled down to foreign exchange.
Yeah, it's true.
It's foreign exchange. So it goes back to what I said at the beginning of it. Let's domesticate some of these things. China started by making sure that everything they do, we have we have the raw materials. It's to process it, and again, I will always take it to the followers. Let's try as much as possible to believe in our own made things. It's a progress. It's a growth. It's a growth.
Mr. Okunade, 2022 New Year resolution. How real is the resolution?
Yeah, well, resolution are always being made, but I know after 48 hours we go back to status quo. But at the same time, let's just remain focused. I'm very optimistic about positive things that will happen in the country this year, but it's just on our path, how focused, how determined we are, either as leaders or followers. Let's just have it and believe in this country. Something positive will come out of it.
Thank you very much. You will agree with me that it's been quite educative with our guest this morning, Olusesan Okunade, a chartered accountant, the vice chairman of ICANN Ikeja District, and a public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for being our guest this morning.
YK, my pleasure always, and KZ,
thank you so much.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We go on a short break now. Don't go anywhere. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.